to you today, because listen, at 950 miles per hour, that's fast. But that is not nearly as fast as Ed Rush flew in his combat career as a decorated F-18 fighter pilot. Listen, this guy flew in 50 combat missions with 2 tours in Iraq. He is a decorated war veteran, but he's much more than that, because listen, after 2 tours in Iraq, he left full-time active duty to speak, write, and share a message that will change the world. And that's what he's teaching me to do and what he's going to share with you today as well. Ed's clients range from multi-million-dollar national organizations, and they include CEOs, founders, political leaders, sports teams, you name it. This guy has worked with just about everybody in every industry. And he's achieved all this despite, and this is his words, not mine, possessing a below average intelligence. And I'm going to let him tell you the story of what that means. His books and expertise have been featured on CBS, Fox, ABC, and NBC. And I am pleased to welcome one of my good friends, Mr. Ed Rush. So Ed, I want to take a moment to welcome you to the show. Thanks for being here.
Chris, I'm glad to be here. So I first of all, I loved your introduction. Great answer to that pricing question. I was paying attention to that, but really what I was doing is I took a screenshot of your backdrop and I was see, this is the side of my 21-Day Miracle book.
Yes.
Front, but that's the back front. But I was looking for the side of that book on the shelf behind you. And for some reason I didn't see it, but I know it's in there. I know it's in there someplace. Or maybe it's so important to you, it's on your desk in a dog-eared fashion. And
I'm going to go with that answer. It is there. And you listen, that 21-Day Miracle book. Well, you and I had a long discussion on what we're going to be potentially.
Yeah, I know. That's actually true. I already know where we're going on that, but
okay,
there's a 21-Day Miracle coming to you.
That's right. Yeah, some cool new stuff. So Ed, number one, thank you again for being here. I do appreciate it. I want to dive in because a lot of the people that listen and watch this show have fitness-based business, martial arts business, membership-driven businesses. And during this time now, where the pandemic is entering our 6th month we're coming up on, so many membership-based businesses have unfortunately just gone out of business. They haven't been able to adapt. They've been able to change, to keep up with the trends and things like that. So I wanted to talk to you today about maybe some of your thoughts, because you reach beyond the fitness industry and world. You're working with multinational, multi-million-dollar companies and brands. So maybe you can share some of the tips and strategies that you've shared with some of them on how the people in this niche industry can continue to move their business forward and adapt to the things that are happening.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to start actually with something you said in the intro. You were talking about pricing, and I thought, first of all, what you said is 100% right. You said prices going from $139 to $159, it shouldn't be an issue. In fact, it almost definitely won't be an issue unless price is the only thing on your customer's mind. And I was thinking when you were saying that, like I take my family to Disneyland, not during COVID-19 because I think they're still closed, but we'd go probably 3-4 times a year as an entire family to Disneyland. The only time I ever think about how much it costs to get in, how much it costs to eat. I bought my daughter a $25 balloon, Chris, once.
A $25 balloon?
Don't even ask. It's just sometimes you have you have a daughter. Sometimes you buy a $25 balloon, dude. That's the way it works. The only time you ever talk about the price is when something goes wrong. For example, we were at Disneyland one time, and there was a person who was one of the cast members at the front of the line of one of the rides, and she was just being mean. You know, sometimes people are just having a bad day. And I remember telling my wife, I go, for all we spent here, I would expect better from the Disneyland. It was the only time the price came up. So you're right. The only time price really does come up is when there's nothing else to look at but the price. If you're creating a great value, if you're providing leadership skills and training skills, people are getting in better shape. They're learning how to protect themselves. They're learning how to think better. They're becoming greater leaders. The parents or the people who are paying for that, they don't think about the price. There's no difference between $130 and $159 in the mind of a person paying for that on a monthly basis, unless you make it a point through lack of service, through not connecting to their actual needs, or through not delivering what they want. So I really like what you said there. I thought that was solid, and I thought that would be a good way to lead into our discussion about where we're at right now. I mean, we're recording this I would like to think it's at the end of the COVID-19 pandemic, but then again, I thought 3 months ago we were at the end of the.
Right.
I mean, the bottom line is in March of 2020, the world completely changed, and it was as predictable as you could have set your watch by it. Let me just explain what I mean by this. Every 80 years, like clockwork, the world inhales and exhales and creates something completely new from what currently is. If you don't trust me, look at the history. For example, back in 1780, we were 4 years into the Revolutionary War. 1776 to 1781 was a 5-year period Revolutionary War where the entire world, not just in the United States, but the entire world went through a completely new reorientation process. We went from kings and despots to a democracy. And look at the world and how it's changed since just 240 years ago. That was in 1776, and during 5 years, the world completely changed. If you were, for example, importing British tea in 1776, by 1781, you were out of business. But if you were importing coffee, you were about to have a lot of fun. Yeah. Fast forward 80 years. 1860 was the beginning of the Civil War. 1865 was the end of the Civil War. In 1859, Darwin wrote Origin of the Species. And so across the world, you see the entire world inhale and then exhale again, and something completely new comes out of it. If you were a cotton farmer in Alabama in 1860, you're going to be out of business by 1865. But if you're an industrialist in New York, if you have a steel plant, and the world's about to make you a very, very, very rich person. Fast forward 80 years, and it's 1940. Think about what was happening in 1940. The entire world was transforming itself into something completely different through World War II, which happened 5 years later. Add 80 years to 1940, and we're in 2020. Now, it could be a war or pandemic or a revolution. The reason is different, but the result is the same, which is every 80 years. Like if you have a lizard, my kids have lizards. Every couple months, the lizards completely shed their skin, and it's a painful process. But by the time the lizard's done, something new has been created. And I will tell you what's happening in the martial arts community right now feels painful, man. I understand that it's difficult to transition your business, but the great news is that the survivors of the next maybe year to 18 months, you're going to have more business, you're going to have more customers, and you're going to have more opportunity. If you think leads were hard to come by, most business owners I know a year and a half, 2 years ago were like, man, it's so hard to get leads. It's so hard to get people's interest. Let me tell you, lead costs are going down. It's twice as cheap as it ever was on Facebook and YouTube and Google to buy ads for the leads that you want. People's attention span is now higher because people are really paying attention to the changes that are happening. So simultaneously, it's cheaper and people are more interested. And what's great too, and I'm saying this doesn't sound great, is there are a lot of martial arts businesses right now that are going out of business. And I know you're like, wait a second, Ed, how is that great? It's great because this culling of the herd is necessary so that by the time it's all done, instead of there being 20 different karate places in town, now there's 2. Ads are cheaper, interest is higher, and the demand is higher. And now you're going to end up 5Xing your business over a period of 5 years, all because of the turmoil. So if you're willing to embrace the change, if you're willing to embrace the discomfort, you could have a business at the end of this that is dominant. And that's what I think you should do.
Well, that is, and first of all, listen, you're about the only person I know that can do a history lesson and make it entertaining and educational.